What's up, folks? I'm Matt, by the way. So if you look back in my videos, which apparently 2 years ago, which I have no clue how time already passed that far and that much. Like, time does not feel real looking back at my old videos. It feels like I started doing this like a month ago, and I don't understand how 2 years could have already passed. But I did this piece that was, at that time, a sort of redo. Every once in a while, I remember that I did this piece, and it kind of becomes like an art milestone to figure out kind of where I'm at and stuff like that. So I first made this piece of like a little dog spelunking basically in 2015. I redid it for the first time a year after that in 2016, waited a space of a little bit more time, found it again in 2019, made another redraw of it, and then finally my last remake, the previous video about this, was in May of 2021, so almost exactly 2 years ago. That's just crazy to me. It probably could have been exactly 2 years ago. I posted the video on May 20th, and I don't really remember how long ago I made it. So that's weird that I actually kind of had the inclination to try and make this at this point in time. So with my process when it comes to these sort of like landmark pieces, I tend not to look at the previous one, maybe like once or twice before I start thumbnailing and drawing, but I want them to kind of become different pieces because I like that process. I feel like the more recent ones could still kind of stand on their own, even like with some of the possible flaws and changes that have happened over time, right? But since I have changed a bit and hopefully improved, I decided to give this piece another rundown and see where I'm at. I also figured, since it's kind of a spooky drawing, while the speed paint is going down, I could talk about some little scary moments in my life, which, nothing too intense. Most of the stories I have are dumb near misses where I scare myself more than anything. That being said, I do have a penchant for the supernatural and spooky, but I'm relatively agnostic, in this case meaning without any big personal experiences, although I do have one or two, the majority of which actually happened in this one house that I lived in when I was a kid. And everybody in my family was basically on the same page that this house was haunted. Every once in a while, things would fall as if they'd been pushed, like they'd fly across the room. We'd hear disembodied noises. Sometimes like something was coming up from the basement and there was like a dog or something like that. And we always thought that it was one of the family dogs, and then we'd go and check and there was nothing down there. But the most memorable for me though happened in the basement, because of course it did. This place had a partially finished basement. There was this living area with carpet and these two fully walled rooms, one of which I lived in for a good period of time. But from the stairs, like over to the other side of this area, it was all concrete, and what was ever running through, like the water heater and the laundry machines, basically unfinished in that area specifically. It also only had one main light in the stairwell, and it was at the very bottom. The kind with the one incandescent bulb that you pull the string to turn it on and off. Oh yeah, the kind that as a kid, when you pull, you run for your life back up the stairs because it's going to get pitch black down there. It was the horror movie light. But because there was kind of a makeshift play area down there, a lot of the time my childhood friends and I would run upstairs from this area in the basement. And one time, we're kind of stampeding up the stairs, all kind of like huddled together because it's a relatively narrow stairway, and making all of this sort of noise surrounding it. I hear just this one single harsh whisper in my right ear. "Walk up the stairs." I thought one of my friends was trying to spook me initially, but considering, again, that the staircase was narrow, and we were all sort of in like a kind of clumpy, if like single file line, like, there wasn't really a way for anybody to get that close to me. Now, like, I had a few minor audio hallucinations as a kid. I feel like a lot of people do, where it's like hearing someone mistakenly call your name from a distance, or maybe like the wind whipping by my ear, sounding like someone going, "Hi," you know? But I'd never experienced something like that, like a full sentence before, and I'd never experienced it since. So I spent the rest of my time in that house reconsidering every time I felt like I should bolt up those stairs. This next one is one of the times that I spooked myself more than anything. Just for a disclaimer up front, because it does get a little bit concerning near the middle. So up until a few months ago, I was doing seasonal work at a local park. You might remember me talking about this. I worked as maintenance, which in my position basically makes me like a park custodian. I clean bathrooms and trash, mostly. Like, again, glorified custodian. So one day, actually back in October, so the spooky month, I was puttering around in the little golf cart I used to get around the park because it was pretty big, and looking for something to do right before lunch, and I spotted this black trash bag just sort of hidden under a corner under the bridge. So perfect, trash was my deal. The area that it was in was kind of awkward to get to. It was practically hidden in this little alcove behind the stairs leading up to the road above, where there was like road going over, little path going under. I was on the path, and there were staircases up to the main road. So yeah, there was a bit of an incline, or a bit of a decline going for like the bottom of the concrete stairs, so I had to kind of duck under it to even get to this area where the trash bag was hidden. And when I finally found the bag, the first thing that got into my line of sight was what at least appeared to be a human torso. Initially, in the split second that I reacted to this, I thought that I had accidentally stumbled into somebody's bedroom. Unfortunately, homeless camps aren't exactly uncommon in that park. So regardless, before I could even think, my flight response kicked in and I booked it back the way that I came. And in the process of freaking out about this, I forgot that there was a dip. And so when I was like partway down, I slammed the top of my head on the bottom of the concrete staircase so hard that my teeth rattled. So breathless and with a minor head injury, I stopped to think for a moment. If what I had seen up there had been a person, hidden behind the staircase, in a garbage bag, by the bridge, by the river, oh God, did I just see a body? Immediately, I'm thinking about whether I should call the park rangers, the police, but some part of me is like, I have to make sure. So initially, I called up to the area, literally saying, please don't be dead, as I considered all of my life and career choices. Of course, no response. In some insane move of either self-appointed duty or possible brain injury from hitting my head, I ducked back under the staircase. What awaited me was not a body. It wasn't even a person. No. What I had fled from, what had caused me the biggest adrenaline rush of possibly my entire life, was a filthy pillow. It was off-white and stained to high hell, kind of ducked into this garbage bag, which I think was filled with other bedding material. But it looked like a white dude's torso area kind of slumped over in the bag. I didn't even grab it at that point. I was still shaking from the surplus adrenaline, again, likely head injury, and now I was near hysterically embarrassed. I'm just glad that I checked before I called the Rangers or something. So, yeah, I took lunch early, and weirdly enough, that's still quite possibly the best job that I've ever had. Okay, so, see if you can spot a pattern in this last story. I'm kind of an insomniac. I wrote this script at about 2 a.m. to give you an idea of where my schedule is a lot of the time. So, around 1 a.m. during the start of the story, I was probably just scrolling my phone in the empty living room, enjoying time to myself because I still live with my family and it can make privacy a little difficult. Suddenly, I hear a massive thud on the door. My curiosity was instantly piqued and forwent any other thought. So, for some reason, my brain went, package? At 1 a.m.? Okay. I opened the door to investigate. That's right. First to die in a horror movie, folks. That's me, calling it right now. Before I could even see what had caused all the noise, I heard a rustling off to one side. Suddenly, my brain catches up with me. I've seen enough of the horror videos with the fake delivery robberies. I've had dreams about basically letting intruders waltz into the house and unable to let them out. In what could have only been a millisecond shift in thought from my stupid, airheaded, wee, what's at the front door? I slammed the door and the bolt lock instantly, turned off all the lights, and tried to look outside through the front window. To my horror, there was a white van just outside, with hazards on. I watched in anticipation, waiting what felt like forever for this van to clear out. Finally, it turns down the street. I go back over to the door, now just opening it with the bolt lock still on, so there was a small gap. And I see a small red package on the doorstep. What made the thud? It was the paper. Yes, my family still gets the physical paper. Mostly for my grandma who lives with us, but instead of a kid on a bike now, of course, it's delivered usually by folks in a van. A white van with hazards on, because it's going slow to deliver the paper. I don't know what I heard move. I think it must have been a cat in the yard or something, because I don't think anybody got out. They usually just chuck it. In my defense, who delivers the paper at 1 a.m.? Typically the delivery people are like older retired folks who are already awake at 4 a.m. But apparently they just gotta jump on it. That thing was hot off the presses. And like the paper route has gotten me before, it has spooked me, but it's usually at like 4 or 5 a.m. on those really bad insomnia nights where I'm basically up until the sun rises. And I was able to discern more quickly what it was, so apparently they just decided I was too comfortable. And I can't even imagine what the people in the van must have felt, seeing somebody step out right after their delivery 1 a.m., then jump and instantly slam the door, only to watch them menacingly from the window in the dark until they turn off from the street. My grandma likes to grab the paper when she wakes up, so I left it out there and took that whole endeavor as my cue to finally go to bed. So, that's all my stories and my re-re-re-redraw 2023 edition. I think it turned out really cool. It's definitely a different style than the last one, but I think it still shows all what I've been focusing on while still being its own piece, and I like that. So before I head out, I also just want to gawp at the crazy engagement my previous video got. I made over half the goal I set in that video alone, which is 50, by the way. Obviously, the big goal is to somehow get to 1,000, possibly get affiliated, but each milestone up to that deserves its own gratitude. I always think about this, the thing that I saw about viewers versus people in a room. 27 people is a lot. That's like social anxiety worthy. That being said, give this video a like if you liked it, subscribe to help me with my initial goal of 50, and tell me what to do when I hit that goal. Or just say hi in the comments. I love me some art friends. Otherwise, I'll see y'all next time.